There's a whole generation of British people who grew up in schools that simply don't exist anymore. Not the buildings. The buildings are still standing, but everything inside them, gone. Replaced, wiped clean. If you went to school in Britain between the 1950s and the 1990s, you lived through an entire world that your children will never understand. The milk bottles, the chalk dust, the dinner ladies, the sound of the school bell that actually meant something. This is 30 things every British kid did at school that have disappeared completely. Number 1, the morning register. Not a computer screen, not a swipe card, a real register. A thick book with green pages and tiny boxes. The teacher would open it every single morning and read your name aloud. Not your nickname, not your first name, your full surname. Thompson? Yes, miss. Williams? Here, miss. That ritual happened every morning for 11 years of your life. It was how Britain taught children to answer to authority, to be counted, to exist inside an institution. The electronic register replaced it in the late 1990s. One click on a screen replacing a ceremony that lasted 100 years. Number 2, milk at playtime. Every single morning, a crate of tiny glass milk bottles would arrive at the school gate, 1/3 of a pint each, full cream. Not semi-skimmed, not oat, not almond. Full cream milk with a layer of cream at the top you had to shake before drinking. In winter, the milk froze and pushed the foil cap off the bottle. You'd find these tiny frozen milk towers on the crate. In summer, it was warm and slightly off by the time you drank it. Didn't matter. You drank it anyway because that was your milk and nobody asked if you wanted it. Margaret Thatcher earned the nickname Milk Snatcher when she ended free school milk in 1971. Some schools kept it going into the 80s. Then it was gone. Number 3, wooden desks with inkwells. These were heavy oak desks with a hole cut into the top right corner. A small circular hole where you'd place your ink pot. Yes, actual ink. Children wrote with fountain pens dipped into actual ink. If you were left-handed, you dragged your sleeve through the wet ink and your entire arm turned blue by the end of the lesson. The ink wells were eventually filled in with wood putty when biros took over, but you could still feel the circle under the surface. A ghost of a writing system that lasted 300 years. Number 4, standing when the teacher entered the room. The moment the teacher walked through that door, every child stood up. Not because they wanted to, because it was the rule. You'd stand, hands behind your back, and wait for the teacher to say, "Sit." Then you'd sit. This happened every single lesson, every single day. It wasn't about respect in the modern sense. It was about obedience, pure, simple, unquestioned obedience. Today, children barely look up from their phones. Back then, the entire room would rise in silence. A tiny ceremony of authority that vanished so completely most people have forgotten it ever happened. Number 5, chalk and the blackboard. Not a whiteboard, not a smartboard, a massive slate board at the front of the room and a teacher with chalk dust on their fingers, their cuffs, their elbows. The sound of chalk writing on that board, that dry, scratchy sound, is something an entire generation can hear in their memory right now, and the board rubber. That felt pad the teacher used to wipe the board clean, sending clouds of white dust into the air. If someone was talking, the teacher would throw the rubber at them. Not metaphorically, physically launched it across the room. And nobody sued. Nobody even complained. That was just school. Number 6, dinner ladies. Not catering assistants. Not lunchtime supervisors. Dinner ladies. These were the women who ran the school canteen like it was a military operation. They wore blue overalls, hairnets, and had the power to make you eat everything on your plate. You couldn't leave until your plate was clean. They had no formal authority over you. But in that dinner hall, they were more powerful than the headmaster. There was always one dinner lady everyone was terrified of, and one who'd sneak you an extra pudding if you'd finished your main. That hierarchy, those women, that entire system, it's gone. Number 7, the metal tray. Not a plate, not a bowl. A segmented metal tray with 5 compartments. Each one held a different part of your school dinner. Meat in the big section, potatoes in another, vegetables in the 2 small ones, and pudding in its own section. The tray was always warm from the dishwasher and tasted faintly of metal. You could hear the entire dinner hall clanking with these trays. 100 children eating off identical metal surfaces. Now children bring their own lunchboxes with sushi and hummus. The metal tray is extinct. Number 8, spam fritters. A slice of spam, coated in batter, deep fried, served with chips and baked beans. This was the Friday special at thousands of schools across Britain. Nobody asked if it was healthy. Nobody counted the calories. It was hot. It was filling. And it was free. And the pudding. Pink custard over a sponge cake. Or semolina with a dollop of jam in the middle. The jam was the only thing that made the semolina edible. You'd stir it round and round until the whole bowl turned pink. Then you'd eat it. Not because it was good, because it was there. Number 9, the smell. If you went to a British school, you know exactly what I mean. The smell of boiled cabbage coming from the kitchen at 11 in the morning. It hit you in the corridor before you even reached the dinner hall, mixed with floor polish and disinfectant. That smell is the single most powerful nostalgia trigger for anyone who went to school in Britain. One whiff of overcooked cabbage and you're 10 years old again, holding a metal tray, wearing grey shorts, wondering what's for pudding. Number 10, the tuck shop. Not a canteen, not a vending machine. A tiny wooden hatch in the wall where an older woman would sell you sweets for pennies, a quarter of sherbet lemons, a few flying saucers, a blackjack and a fruit salad for a penny each. You'd queue up with your 10-pence pocket money and debate the most important financial decision of your week. The tuck shop was the first shop most British children ever used. It taught you about money, about queuing, about the agonizing choice between 1 big chocolate bar or 5 small sweets. Then one day, it closed and nobody even noticed. Number 11, conkers. Every autumn, the playground became a battlefield. You'd bring in horse chestnuts you'd found on the walk to school. The best ones were hard, symmetrical, and if you were really serious, you'd soak them in vinegar overnight and bake them in the oven to make them harder. Then you'd thread them onto a shoelace and challenge someone. One player dangled their conker, the other swung. If you smashed their conker, you won. If yours broke, you lost. And the winner kept the score, a sixer, a sevens, an eighter, meaning your conker had destroyed that many others. One of the most dangerous things children were allowed to do at school. Now, some schools ban conkers because of health and safety. The world that allowed it is gone. Number 12, British Bulldog. The most dangerous game ever played on a British playground. One person stood in the middle, the bulldog. Everyone else ran from one side to the other. If the bulldog caught you, you became a bulldog too. By the end, 20 children were chasing 3 terrified runners across the playground. People got hurt. That was the point. Scabby knees, torn shirts, the occasional broken wrist. Nobody sued the school. Nobody's parent complained. Your mum just put Germaline on your knee and told you to be more careful next time. British Bulldog was banned from almost every school by the year 2000. A game that defined British childhood, made illegal. Number 13, Kiss Chase. The playground game that would absolutely not be allowed today. Girls chased boys. Boys chased girls. If you caught someone, you had to kiss them. On the cheek, on the hand, occasionally, bravely, on the lips. It was innocent and chaotic, and everyone screamed and ran and pretended they didn't want to be caught, when secretly that was the entire point. It was how a whole generation of British children first learned about attraction, roughly, clumsily, in a freezing playground in November. Gone now, understandable why. But it was real. Number 14. Chalk hopscotch on the tarmac. Not a painted court, not a plastic mat. You drew it yourself with a stick of chalk on the playground floor. Numbers 1 through 10 in a pattern of squares. You'd toss a stone, hop through, pick it up, hop back. Every break time, the playground was covered in chalk drawings that the rain would wash away by the next morning. Then you'd draw them again. A cycle of creation and destruction that taught you that nothing lasts. But you can always start again. Number 15, the school bell. Not an electronic tone, not a pre-recorded sound through speakers, an actual bell. A hand-run brass bell that the head teacher or a prefect would ring in the corridor. The sound was sharp, clear, and it meant one thing. Whatever you were doing, it was over. Line up, now. The bell commanded your entire day. Playtime over, lessons starting, lunch finished, home time. That sound is wired into the nervous system of every British person over 40. When you hear it in an old film, your body reacts before your mind does. Electronic tones replaced it. Polite, quiet, meaningless. The bell had authority. Number 16, the house system. From the moment you walked through the school gates, you were sorted. Not by a magical hat, but by a teacher with a register. Red house, blue house, green house, it didn't matter which one. What mattered was that everything you did, every race, every test, every good deed, earned points for your house. And on Friday afternoon, when the headmaster read out the house points, you either celebrated or blamed the kid who lost 50 points for talking in assembly. Number 17, the tuck shop. Before school dinner, there was the tuck shop. A small window, a queue of kids clutching 10-pence pieces, and a dinner lady who sold everything your mum wouldn't allow at home. Sherbet dips, Space Raiders, a can of Panda Pops. If you had 20 pence, you were royalty. If you had 50 pence, you were practically untouchable. Number 18, morning assembly. Every single day started the same way. You filed into the hall. You sat cross-legged on the floor. You sang a hymn you didn't understand. You listened to the headmaster talk about something you immediately forgot. And then you walked out in silence, single file, no talking. It was part church, part military drill, and entirely British. Number 19, the knit nurse. Once a term, a woman appeared in the school corridor with a lamp and a parting stick. She checked every single head for knits. If she found them, you went home with a letter. Everyone knew who got the letter. Everyone. It was the most public humiliation in the school calendar. And it happened every single term. Number 20, standing in the corner. If you misbehaved, you didn't get a timeout. You didn't get a reflection sheet. You stood in the corner facing the wall while the entire class got on with their work behind you. You could hear them. You couldn't see them. And you stood there until the teacher decided you'd learned your lesson, which was usually when your legs started to hurt. So there you have it. 30 things that every British kid did at school that have now disappeared completely. Which one hit hardest? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more trips back to the Britain that used to be, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.